for refusing to stop having girls' nights in just because my boyfriend thinks it's wrong. Hi. I know, it's off to a solid start. Hi, so I've been seeing this guy, Will, 27 male, for months now. He's so sweet and funny and creative. We don't live together, but we do meet at my place every weekend. He called and asked what we will be doing on Friday, and I said I wanted to host a girls' night in, since it was my turn. He asked what the heck a girls' night in was, and he got quiet, then asked if I was being serious. I was confused, as he started talking about how outdated and so 1950s these events are, and said that I should stop promoting and advocating for those events as they're so toxic and flat out reek of misogyny.
Okay.
I was shocked by his long rant, but he said that that was his honest opinion. I told him regardless, I still plan to host the event after he tried talking me out of it and suggested we go out together. He threw a fit after he suggested bringing his guy friends to join us, and I refused, since this is not how GNIs work. He called me a sexist and misogynistic for having a girls' night in and making it so obvious instead of being ashamed of myself. He said that my mentality will cause me issues in the future, especially if I behave like that in a professional work setting. Let me tell you, I was blown away by how he got so worked up like that over me just missing my girls and wanting to spend time with them. We argued some more and he hung up on me after I said I will not stop hosting or being a part of girls' night ins. I tried to call and apologize for lashing out later, but he sent a text saying he was hurt by how I handled our small disagreement and needs time to process what he just found out about my personality. Am I the asshole for making this my hill to die on?
There's a lot to unpack here. Fuck your boyfriend, girl. Like, that's my advice to you. But also, misogyny, like, you don't even know the definition of that term.
No,
There's
he
no
is
way.
so confused.
Yeah, he's like, what are some big words that will confuse her? Mm-hmm. And also the gaslighting, too, at the end, where he's like, you really hurt me. You deciding to have a girls' night in with your girlfriends, that really hurt me because you clearly hate me. What a weird reaction to girls' night in.
It's girls' night in.
She doesn't even want to go out.
They're not even going out.
Yeah, she's like, we're gonna stay inside and talk shit. Like, that's pretty much all we're gonna do. So, what's the problem?
Is he confused? Like, is he, like, genuinely confused about what this entertains? Like, what does he think happens at girls' night in?
Story time about the girl who left me unconscious in the girls' bathroom. So a little background information. I was pretty young at the time. I was in 7th grade and I was 11 years old. And there was this girl who we're gonna call Jenna. Jenna hated me
for absolutely no fucking reason. She would bully me because I had red hair, and she would text me literally every day at the same time, telling me to off myself, and how I was weird, and how nobody liked me. One day she randomly started being nice to me. She sat with me at lunch, and her water bottle was empty, and she asked if I needed mine filled up too. Stupidly, I said yes. Well, she ended up putting drugs in my water bottle. After like 20 minutes, I started feeling sick, so I went to the bathroom, and I was kneeling over the toilet when everything went black. Well, when I didn't come back from the bathroom, my teacher got worried, so she sent security looking for me. They were banging on my stall. Obviously, I was fucking unconscious, so I didn't answer. So then they called the fire department, the police, the ambulance were all there. Like for part 2 about the girl who left me unconscious in the girls' bathroom. So like I said, the fire department was there, the police, the ambulance. They called the fire department because they couldn't get the door off. And when they removed it, it fell on me. So I was injured and unconscious. And just a little background information on this girl, who, mind you, was literally 11 years old. She had 3 criminal records and was recently in prison for 5 days. Or juvie, whatever the heck you want to call it. Because she brought a knife to school and tried to stab some kid who had called her fat the day before. Anyways, back to the story. I wake up 4 days later. My mom's sitting next to me. They put Abby in jail for 13 years. For suspicion of attempted murder, and she was kicked out of school. And now I'm homeschooled and failing all my classes. I now have seizures because of the drugs that she gave me. So, yeah.
Am I the asshole for no longer letting my boyfriend eat what I cook after he raided my food in front of my family? My 25 boyfriend, Jerry, 31, has a culinary art diploma. He works 2 jobs related to his field, 1 as a chef in a restaurant and 2 as a cooking instructor. I had no real experience in cooking, but he encouraged me to learn and helped my skills improve, even though he has a habit of rating every meal I cook. For example, X meal gets 7 out of 10, or Y meal gets 8.3 out of 10. Or even, Z meal would have gotten 9 out of 10 if the sauce wasn't so salty, etc. I didn't feel great with him rating my food, no matter the score. But he says he's helping me improve, so... My family came over to visit, and I wanted to cook their favorite meals. Jerry sat with my parents and chatted till the food was ready. He started eating and kept making comments about my choice of meals. Once he put his fork down, he cleared his throat and literally started rating every dish I made. 7 out of 10 for this, 4.8 out of 10 for this, and 6 out of 10 for that. My family were so confused, and I was floored. I felt awful as he kept giving advice on how to improve my score next time. He kept a straight face while doing it. It was awkward, just awkward, the entire evening. We had a huge argument after my family left, and I told Jerry that he acted poorly and embarrassed me when he started rating my food in front of my family. I said to him that I won't have him eat what I cook anymore. He said I was overreacting and claimed what he was doing is just constructive criticism, and I shouldn't take it personal since he's just used to rating his students' work. I said I wasn't his dang student, and he wasn't Gordon Ramsay to be heavily putting my efforts down in front of family. He got offended and said my reaction was way over the top since he was just giving constructive criticism in order for me to make progress, and said he was trying to help, and that, quote, Gordon Ramsay comment was totally uncalled for and just a low blow to his abilities as a respectable chef with a respectable career. He then asked what made me think it was okay to come at him like that over a few ratings. He stated he was hurt and went to stay with a friend for the night, probably expecting an apology from me. Am I the asshole?
Can we talk about the 8.3 and the 5.2? Is that a thing? 5.2 versus a 5? Tell me the difference. I want to see what Gordon Ramsay thinks about an 8.3.
Am I wrong for naming my cat something my sister was going to name her daughter? Again with the names, man. This always causes rift between people. Sister, Alice, 29 female, had some fertility issues. She eventually got pregnant a few years ago. Alice wanted the gender of the baby to be a surprise, so she wouldn't know until he was born. She ended up picking out 2 names, one if it was a boy and one if it was a girl. She ended up having a boy. When she was talking about girl names, she floated the idea Sandra, and her nickname could be Sandy. She did not end up using the name, and it wasn't even their pick for the name if it was a girl. It was their second or third choice. Anyway, fast forward to last week, I found and rescued an orange cat. After I knew she wasn't lost, I decided that I would keep her. I was trying to think of names that would work, and one of my friends suggested Sandy. This friend did not know that my sister had brought up the name Sandy for her child. I loved the name and decided that was what I was going to be naming her. When I told my parents and sister about this, my sister got kind of quiet and asked if I could change it. She said that Sandy was what she wanted to name her daughter if she had one. I honestly did not know she was trying to have another child, and did not even make the connection or remember she also liked the name. She said that I should change it and would be an asshole for stealing her name. I really like the name Sandy for this cat, so would I be the asshole if I didn't change it? Here's the thing, right? You gotta pick and choose your battles. If you care about your relationship with your sister, which I assume you do, change it. It's just a name, right? The cat will give 2 shits if you name it Sandy, Patrick, or SpongeBob, you know? So, that's the thing. But I don't know. Why do people make such big deals about this? I think you would be the asshole, sorry. Story time about how my parents caught me selling my undies online. Disclaimer, is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. I'm extremely spoiled. My family is extremely rich. This allows me to buy whatever I want. The problem is my dad caught me sneaking out of my window.
So he grounded me for 2 months and took away my allowance. And my allowance is a lot. My dad usually gave me $150 a week. With that money, I would go to Starbucks every single day before school. And I would also treat my friends to Starbucks every now and then. More like every day. My friends and I would go to restaurants and have fancy dinners and lunches. And I also had a car. I would also go shopping almost every single Friday with my friends. I would get manicures and pedicures. And I could basically buy myself whatever I wanted just by asking my dad for the money. But now that I was grounded, that was not going to happen. By the way, I'm 20 now, but this was 3 years ago. So I was 17 when all of this happened. I can confidently say that
I was like the queen bee in my high school. Number one, I was in the cheerleading squad. Number two, I was super pretty popular and had lots of money. Therefore, everyone wanted to hang out with me. I knew that I needed to maintain my status and also the life that I had become accustomed to. Not being able to go to Starbucks every single morning really made me depressed. That probably made you roll your eyes, but I said what I said. Now, there was no way I was gonna go get a job somewhere. You would never catch me working at a cafe or a restaurant or something like that. So I knew I had to start making my own money online somehow. I did some research and found out that people would sell pictures and video of their feet. So I signed up for this stupid website and decided to do it. The problem was that by the end of the week, I had only made $46. This was clearly not enough. So I did some more research and found out that you could actually sell your undies. So I took my last $200, went to Victoria's Secret and stocked up on undies. And this is when things get really fun. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my parents caught me selling my undies online. Disclaimers is not my story time. I said me on Instagram. So I took my last $200, went to Victoria's Secret and stocked up on undies. I signed up to this website and within a week I had about 80 orders. So that means in 1 week I sold $2,000 worth of my own underwear. This is when I realized that I could charge way more than I had been. So I doubled the price and the following week I made $4,000. So here's the first mistake I made. I decided to tell my girlfriends about it and they decided to sign up and start selling their own undies. After a month, all of my friends and I were selling our undies, and we were all making bank. This also meant that we were spending lots of money. I started buying designer handbags and shoes. One of my friends even put a down payment to a car, and her parents started asking her tons of questions. And so did mine. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my parents caught me selling my undies online. Disclaimer is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. When my parents realized that I was buying all these designer bags and shoes, they started asking me questions. I was strong and I kept my mouth shut. Now my friends, on the other hand, who were also selling their undies, one of them got questioned by her parents and she gave up all the information. She even told her parents that I was the mastermind behind everything and that I had told all the other girls to start selling their undies, which was true. So it was official, I had been caught. Of course, my mom's friend runs straight over to my house and she starts spilling all the beans to my parents. My dad and mom came straight to my room and started rummaging through everything. That's when they find all my purses, my shoes, had stacks of cash in my drawers, and under my mattress. All of my friends got grounded, but my parents decided to take it a step further. They were so disgusted with me that they actually kicked me out of the house. But the good news is I had a lot of money, so I got myself a really nice apartment. So jokes on my parents. With all the money that I made, I decided to start a side hustle. I have my own employees and run my business from my house. My parents and I still talk, and my dad's even invested into my new company. When I look back at what I did, I do feel shame, but at the same time, I've become so successful from that money. What should I invest in next?
Story time on how my best friend faked her death. By the way, we're gonna call her Amanda, and we were both 16 at the time. Going through high school, Amanda got bullied a lot. She didn't necessarily know how to defend herself, so I would always find myself defending her all the time. And I had no problem doing it because that was my closest friend. We were like sisters and we grew up together. And people bullied her about her nose being too big and her acne, just really mean stuff. There was this one time the mean girls at her school literally threw pizza at her face to tell her that that's what her face looks like. And I would always try to help her with her confidence. But I noticed me being around her all the time, I started to get bullied. And people would always attack me about hanging out with her. But don't worry, I'd always handle myself. But it got to a point where it was just overly done. So one day, I just wanted to see a test of what would happen if I didn't talk to her for the day or hang out with her. And the next day, she disappeared. Come back for part 2. Part 2 on how my best friend faked her death. So, like I said, I started to get bullied for hanging around her. So I wanted to try and see what would happen if I decided not to really hang out with her for a day. And the next day, she disappeared. So the day she wasn't at school, I went back home and called her. Her mom picked up and I asked her if she was there. Her mom said, no, I thought that she was with you. So that night, Amanda never came home. So the next day, her mom had told me that she was going to go to the police station and file a missing persons report. But she was told she couldn't really file one because the person had to be missing for at least 72 hours to be considered missing. And I felt so scared because she's never missing. She never ups and leaves. And I started to believe it was because the day I stopped talking to her, and I was blaming myself for her being gone. And I was hoping that she wasn't kidnapped. But come back for part 3 if you want to know what happened. Part 3 on how my best friend faked her own death. So Amanda was missing for a week. Her mom had came to the school to let them know that if they ever saw her come by, to please let her know, or to please call the police. And during this whole time, a lot of people were coming up to me, asking me what happened to her. And of course, I had to tell them that I didn't know, because I didn't. But all I could hope is that she was safe and alive. There was a few students that laughed about her being missing, but there was a few students that cared. So I was asking people to put up posters. Around this time, social media wasn't really out, so we couldn't necessarily post anything online. Everything went on polls. Amanda was also in the news. And every day I cried hoping that she would come back. After 2 weeks of her being gone, I get a letter from Amanda. And I'm so shocked because I'm like, oh my gosh, where is she? And it was a suicide letter. Part 4 on how my best friend faked her own death. So I got a letter in the mail and it was from Amanda. I was so shocked about the letter, I opened it up really quickly. When I read it, I found out that it was a suicide letter. And I just sat there and cried. I had went to her house and knocked on the door to let her mom know, but her mom also received the same letter. After a couple days, her mom did have the police do another search, and no one could find her. I was hoping maybe she didn't commit suicide in a place that we could never find her. I don't know, but it just didn't feel right, and how she just left off this way. Her mom just couldn't believe it. So a couple months I would stay inside her mom's house. I'd sleep inside of her room, just grieving her being lost. But I couldn't believe that she committed suicide. Deep down I knew that she was somewhere out there. Come back for part 5 on how my best friend faked her death. So after 2 years of Amanda being missing, even though she wrote those letters to us, we both still didn't believe that she was gone. And I thought about her just about every day. During these years, her mom would constantly do searches. Maybe if she wasn't alive, then maybe they could find her body. Then she would find the truth. Her mom couldn't accept the fact that maybe she was dead. And every week on Sunday, she'd go out there even by herself. My mom and a few of her friends would always tell her she can't keep doing that. She'll even sometimes go out in the middle of the night, walk around calling for her. And her mom started to get really sick. After the 3rd year of her being gone, her dad finally came inside the picture. Amanda was never really close with her dad. He wasn't really a part of her life. He started to see how mentally ill her mother was becoming, so he decided to set up a funeral so this all could end. But her mom didn't want to attend. Come back for part 6 on how my best friend faked her death. So her dad wanted to set up the funeral so they could finally end this grieving. Her mom didn't want to attend because she didn't believe that she was dead, and I still couldn't believe it either. Her dad read the note, and he wanted them both to stop all this pain. After a couple months battling out of doing a funeral, he finally did one. And I started thinking, maybe she is gone, because maybe then I could let go of this whole situation. So, of course, me and my family attended the funeral. Of course, they had no body to bury, but they did set up a grave. And they put her stone in the ground. So, after 11 years of that happening, I believe that she was dead. I had moved to Texas, met my husband, which I married, and I got pregnant. Maybe 4 months into my pregnancy, I wanted to take mommy classes. And when I got there, the instructor looked like Amanda's mom. Part 7 on how my best friend faked her death. I got pregnant and I wanted to start taking mommy classes. When I had got to the class, the instructor looked like Amanda's mom, but almost like a younger version. When I looked at her face even closer, she had the same mole that Amanda had down the bottom of her chin. And then I snapped. That's Amanda. When I walked up to her and said, Amanda, she looked at me and froze. After she stared at me for 5 seconds, a girl comes up to her and says, Mom. I looked over and gasped. After she talked with her daughter, there was more and more women coming in for the class. And once I realized it was her, I ran back to my car. When I got to my car, I started to have a panic attack because that was her. And the daughter that called for her had to be maybe 12 or 13 years old. And I started to think, in order for Amanda to have a 12-year-old now, she would have to have gotten pregnant months before she went missing.
Am I wrong for sending the police to my stepsister's wedding? I, 32 feet.